VeChain. Let's start with VeChain right now.
Yeah, so a few things to consider. We dropped 81% from all-time highs, even assuming the worst case scenario and we're entering a bear market. The worst of what's possible already happened. We already dropped 81% from all-time highs. Worst case scenario is we drop another 10 or 20%. If we drop 20%, that's it means it's going to zero. So the worst case scenario of what's possible if we're entering a bear market has already happened. So again, folks, VeChain is a super, super solid project. I think it's here to stay over the long term. Whether we assume it's the worst case scenario, when we're earning a 2 3 year bear market, I think VeChain is going to be here 5 years from now. And so personally, I'm hodling. Now, a few things to consider here. We're currently above the 618 Fibonacci retracement. That's a very, very good sign. This daily candle, which closes in 7 hours here, wants to hold above 10 cents. It's trying to. So if we can close above 10 cents, 10 and a half cents, very, very good sign. That's what we want to see. Ultimately, we want to remain above what was previous sideways price action. So if we can close above this previous sideways price action, close above this peak in volume, close above this peak in volume at again 10, just under 11 cents, 10 and a half cents, then that's a good sign. VeChain above 10 and a half cents tells me it's looking perhaps ready to start recovering a bit as long as we can hold the line here.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. I think the biggest thing we need to keep in mind here is the fact that just like we're taking a look at Bitcoin, it's the same exact chart, guys. And even if I look here, maybe, and we go to Bitcoin, you'll see it's the same exact thing. There's nothing different in terms of it's a downtrend. You have this trend line where you see we got a couple data points where we can easily look and see a 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 here. Bitcoin's supposed to go down, but it actually broke out of it. Same thing with VeChain. VeChain is the same thing. 1, 2, 3. And here I guess we didn't make it, but as soon as we broke out of this line, we actually started to move sideways a bit. So VeChain has been following Bitcoin. We always say the same thing here, and we're going to keep on saying it because these are, the facts. There's a lot of those coins. There's a kind of the market has more appetite towards certain or different cryptocurrencies. There's different cryptocurrency pairs that are more traded with Bitcoin as opposed to others. What that means is when people holding Bitcoin, Bitcoin starts to have a bad day, a lot of people actually switch their Bitcoin to Matic, to Solana, to Chainlink, to sometimes Bitcoin Cash, Polkadot, 1inch. And we know those for a fact. As soon as we start having Bitcoin have a bad day, a lot of this money starts, a lot of those swaps start to happen with those different ones. VeChain currently is not one of them. VeChain follows Bitcoin's price action a lot, and you guys see it a lot. With Matic, for example, Matic held pretty good. Cardano held pretty good when Bitcoin was going down. Cardano held the $1.50 pretty good, and everybody was talking about it because it's something unconventional in the market. However, majority of those altcoins do follow Bitcoin's price action, except for those selective few where there's more buyer appetite on it, and VeChain is definitely not one of them. Now, however, same thing with how Bitcoin actually broke out of this. Same thing, VeChain is doing the same thing. We know what VeChain is capable of. That's the biggest thing. Because VeChain has been on the bottom for such a long time, not even close to a cent, less than a cent, eighth of a cent. And not until even January came in, February came in, March started to come in, and we start seeing, actually VeChain start to go up, the mid, so 1, 2, 3, 4 cent, 5 cent, and still that wasn't, it's the same compared to the to the original market. But keep in mind, VeChain actually, if we're looking maybe here at the end of 2020, somewhere December 2020, we're looking at VeChain, if you take it to the top, did 1,900% movement. Right now, VeChain is all the way back at those slower levels. VeChain actually reached 80% less, all the way down to a 5 cent as opposed to 28 cent. Right now, sitting here, fully following Bitcoin's price action. So a lot of accumulation is happening here. I don't see if Bitcoin starts to have a bad day, VeChain, I don't think VeChain is going to start to go up. It's going to go down. But mainly, we know what VeChain is capable of. And not only just these all-time highs, I think everybody was excited about VeChain being stuck in this sideways wedge. And as soon as we break out of this wedge to the upside, the levels we were taking a look at with VeChain was the 40 cent region. I think the majority of swing traders and investors on a short term, day traders also are taking a look at, a good 40% valuation, I guess, for VeChain's price. So right now we're here. You're right, man. I agree. Those levels we do need to maintain the 10 cent. Right now we're at the 11. But look, the main thing keep in mind, guys, is the fact that we just broke out of it here on the 4 hour. We're most likely gonna come back to retest it. Maybe even if it gets the 8 or 9 cent, that's fine. But as long as this line holds, because we always see once we break this, very very critical resistance solidified. As soon as we break it, we always need to come back to retest it to prove that it's now support, to prove that VeChain is going to treat this as support, and buyers are actually looking at the same thing we're looking at. So yeah, it's okay for it to come down, but I need to see a bounce on this trend line. And as we move upwards, we know exactly those levels that VeChain can reach. So for the time being, the most important thing is a retest and a bounce back above.
Yeah, and look, guys, we're seeing signs of strength with VeChain. We're seeing a higher low that needs to maintain. We're above this volume at, again, 10, 8 cents. That needs to hold that support. As well, very interestingly, taking a look here at the 4 hour chart, you can see that this red line here, the 20 exponential moving average on the 4 hour, pretty closely held as resistance above price action throughout this entire downtrend, except for now. We broke above it. We flipped it from resistance and now acting as support. So we're seeing the first signs of bullish divergence. Whenever we break above an exponential moving average that we've been holding as resistance throughout the entire downtrend, that's the first sign of the trend shifting. So ultimately, with me, I don't want to see VeChain do some like this, where we can break above, again, see more bullish confirmation, this trend level, then hold above previous resistance zone. If we can do that, then we have more move to the upside. So ultimately, we want to see what Bitcoin does. Bitcoin leads the market, but we're starting to see some signs of bullish divergence with VeChain. We just want more confirmation. We want confirmation. Then we can be more confident of direction.